Nyan Neko Sugar Girls. I never expected those words to come out of my mouth, but here we are, and that's the series that we're going to cover today. Listen, I know I mostly do analog horror stuff, but it isn't out of my ballpark to cover funny series like this. Now, what is Nyan Neko Sugar Girls? It's a YouTube series found on the channel Soap Opera 46, and it's a series with many anime tropes paired with conflict involving kidnapping, rabies, demons, and love. There's also a tragic ending. Oh my gosh. By the way, I'm going to say this right now, my recap of the series isn't going to give it justice. It's the type of series that you have to watch to fully experience. The links are in the description if you're interested. With that being said, sit back, relax, and as always, my name is Ripa Estrella. Let's begin. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, Episode 1. First, we see a beautiful starry night before transitioning to the song opening playing True Love. For this opening, we see all the main characters of the cast: Koneko, Raku, and Hitoshi, two cat girls and a guy with blue hair. After the opening finishes, the first episode begins with a view of Mochi Center and the sounds of chewing. Koneko and Raku are enjoying mochi treats, and after finishing, they proceeded to walk home. While leaving, they ran into Hitoshi, who Raku immediately took an interest in. Hitoshi complimented the girls, which flustered Raku. He's a bit of a flirt. Because of her flusterness, he wasn't sure how to respond, but Koneko giggled and gave the excuse that Raku gets like that sometimes. Eventually, Raku mustered the courage to say hi to Hitoshi, and they all introduced themselves. It seemed like everyone was getting along, but we soon transitioned to Raku in bed. She was still thinking about Hitoshi and is considering asking him out because he's so sugoi. And that was the end of the first episode. We see the credits, hear Raku singing, and see a view of the girls' panties with Hitoshi staring in the corner. There was a lot of nya, sugoi, kawaii, and other anime-related stuff sprinkled in the dialogue, which was expected and still funny. I have weird humor, okay? Let's move on. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, Episode 2. After the song opening, we begin in Hitoshi's house. He did his morning routine that involved a Pocky breakfast, but suddenly the window shattered and a guy with brown hair jumped inside. He kidnapped Hitoshi, and genuinely, I'm worried because the brown-haired guy seemed a little creepy. Actually, a lot creepy. The kidnapper said that they were going to have some fun. Do you want to know what my live reaction to Hitoshi's kidnapping? What? What am I watching? And meanwhile, during the kidnapping, Raku and Koneko were at the Kawaii Underwear Chan store, picking out underwear. After complimenting each other, they left the store, and as they stepped outside, they saw a car driving by, which Hitoshi was crying out for help. The second episode then ends there with a cliffhanger. What will happen to Hitoshi? Will the girls be able to save him? Will they have the opportunity to wear the panties they just bought? We'll find out in the third episode, which is what we're going to get to right now. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, Episode 3. After the song opening, we see Raku and Koneko chasing after the van with Hitoshi. Raku is obviously worried, but the two girls are determined to save him. Meanwhile, Hitoshi is questioning his kidnapper, asking him what he would do to him and to get away. The kidnapper answered by saying that they're going to have some fun. Hitoshi soon pulled out his inner American, telling the kidnapper he didn't have the right to hold him captive and that they're in a free country. Japan. The kidnapper soon said that he stripped Hitoshi of his freedom and to get down on his knees. Oh. During this moment, we see the kidnapper's blue eyes and Hitoshi looked up at him with rosy cheeks. What? Why is he blushing? Anyways, the windows shatter and the girls jumped in to rescue him. Just in time. Hitoshi is happy to see them, and they managed to restrain the kidnapper and untie Hitoshi. The kidnapper obviously complained about the situation because now he can't have his way with Hitoshi. We then cut away to outside with Hitoshi and Raku staring into each other's eyes. They had to split ways to go home, but Hitoshi used this opportunity to hold Raku's hands and tell her how much he appreciated her for saving him. He then left, leaving them with a nya and a roar. I'm not making this up. And this was the conclusion of the third episode. But we're not done yet. This isn't the last we've seen of the kidnapper. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, Episode 4. Skipping the song opening like with most animes I watch, we see Koneko waking up to a beautiful day. Because of how nice it was, Raku went outside and met with a squirrel. She hugged the squirrel and almost suffocated it between her chest. Okay. The series likes to emphasize her booba. I don't blame him. Anyways, the squirrel bit her, which she complained and screamed about for what felt like forever. She was crying too, and I kind of felt bad for laughing, but come on. Go listen and you will laugh too. Anyways, after calming down, Raku started thinking about Hitoshi, hoping he's doing alright after the kidnapping. She was even hopeful that one day they could be more than friends. And all that screaming must have done a number on her voice because she started coughing a little too. Or maybe it wasn't just the crying that made her cough. But ignoring that for now, we switch away and see Koneko outside bumping into Hitoshi. They talk casually and Koneko admits to Hitoshi that Raku thinks he's sugoi. Sadly, Hitoshi didn't process her words because he started daydreaming about his kidnapper. I mean, alright, go get your man, Hitoshi. Is that a bulge? What? Anyways, he stopped his daydreaming and told Koneko to thank Raku for her compliments and kindness. And during this, Koneko probably sensed something because she then asked if he was alright. He told her not to worry, and he decided that he should go tell Raku that he thinks she's a cool Neko and pretty sugoi. What are the words coming out of my mouth? Anyways, Hitoshi went to Raku's home and he invited himself inside. He found Raku in bed, clearly sick. But regardless of her current condition, she's happy to see him, and after 10 minutes, both Hitoshi and Koneko brought a gift for her to help her feel better. Dancing sushi. She thanks her friends and leans on Hitoshi's shoulder. However, I'm not sure if she really is feeling better. And that was the conclusion of the 4th episode. Next up! Actually, quick pause. The next part is technically episode 6 because episode 5 is gone. However, I found a re-upload of it, so I'll just briefly talk about it here. Raku's going to the vet, they ran into Hitoshi. Hitoshi is still daydreaming about his kidnapper, and while at the vet, the nurse told the girls that Raku has rabies. Yikes. Obviously, the squirrel from before is responsible, but Raku forgot about the squirrel, so she didn't put the connection together that that's how she got the rabies. Raku's friends then comforted her, and they all enjoyed some tea after leaving the vet. However, while in bed, Raku continued to feel strange. And that was episode 5. With that lost, but not really lost media out of the way, let's proceed with the series. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, episode 6. The episode opens with Raku in bed, still feeling sick, likely because of the rabies. She decided that maybe she should get some fresh air, but her body was so weak. She passed out on the ground and accidentally showed off her panties. Oh my. Meanwhile, Koneko was on her way home with a gift for Raku. But once she saw Raku passed out on the ground, she immediately dropped her gift and was concerned for her friend. Koneko took her back inside and Raku briefly hallucinated Hitoshi, but eventually saw her friend watching over her. Koneko then stepped away for a moment to make Raku some tea, but when she returned, suddenly Raku was gone and the window was open. It turns out Raku left because she felt like a burden to her friends, so the only option was to run away. Of course, Koneko didn't want to abandon her friend, so she called Hitoshi for help. Hitoshi is just as worried as Koneko, and they both decided that they have to find her. Meanwhile, Koneko was in the forest curled up in a ball crying until suddenly she saw a bright light. Returning back to Hitoshi and Koneko, they're still on the search for their friend. And while searching, a blue van drove by and Hitoshi thought he saw his kidnapper, but after rubbing his eyes, he realized he was wrong. Honestly, it seems like Hitoshi discovered something about himself after getting kidnapped. But regardless, he's still worried about his friend, so he has to put that thought aside. And that's when it left with another cliffhanger. What will happen to Raku? What was that white light? Will her two friends manage to find her? Will Hitoshi accept that maybe he's a little gay? We'll find out in the next episode. Let's go. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, episode 7. Just like in the previous episode, Raku was crying in the woods. And it seemed like one of her boobas has deflated. Oh no. Anyways, we saw the bright light again, which she approached, and the light spoke to her. It told her to release her inner beast. Suddenly, an overwhelming power surrounded her, and we then cut away to see her friends in the rain, crying because they couldn't find her. Hitoshi comforted Koneko and told her not to lose hope, so they must keep going. And while walking, they passed a guy with brown hair who was oddly familiar. The kidnapper? This stunned Hitoshi for a moment until Koneko called out to him in Spanish. In Spanish? Ooh, we're learning more about these characters. Anyways, it turns out she saw 3 dogs barking at a cat. The two quickly rescued the cat, and after giving it a closer look, they realized that the cat was Raku. You know, she had gray cat ears and a tail, so of course she would have gray fur in this cat form, but the unexpected thing was that she has wings. While crying in Hitoshi's arms, they took her home, and the two friends are unsure what to do now that Raku is a cat. Koneko assumes that maybe the rabies from the squirrel caused this, and after a brief flashback of Raku getting bit, it ended with another cliffhanger. I wonder how they're going to resolve this situation. We'll find out in the next episode. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, episode 8. Koneko and Hitoshi decided that they should spend as much time as they can with Raku before the rabies get to her. So they're going to the amusement park and put Raku in a mochila. Raku could only respond with meows, and after they arrived at the amusement park, they went on a roller coaster first. Surprisingly, while on the ride, Raku reverted back to normal, which made her friends very happy. Those boobas are flappin'. And now that she's normal again, they decided to go on more rides, and Raku is very appreciative of the friendship she has with them. And after all those emotional events, they're closer than ever, and after Hitoshi vomited because of those rides, they decided that maybe they should go to the beach next. This is a beach episode! Sadly, Koneko doesn't have a swimsuit, however, Hitoshi came to save the day and bought her one. The girls got complimented for their hotness and they continued with their beach shenanigans that involved splashing water on each other and losing swim trunks. Koneko didn't seem interested while Raku had a nosebleed. Hey, the kidnapper guy is also in the background. And in the end, Hitoshi walked the girls home and everything seemed nice, but sadly, Raku admits that she's still not feeling well. Koneko assumed that maybe it was from all the excitement of the day and Raku just needs some rest. The two went to bed, but while there, Raku questioned if her rabies are gone or not. And that's the end of episode 8. Despite all the fun, we're still left with worry over Raku's condition. Is she really okay? Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, Episode 9. The episode opens with Koneko waking up and discovering Raku was back in the form of a cat. Not only that, but she's unexpectedly very hostile towards her as well. Almost like she forgot that Koneko is her friend. Because of this, Koneko had to take Raku to the vet, and while walking there, she ran into Hitoshi. Hitoshi doesn't seem to question much about Raku being a cat again, however, he becomes very worried once Koneko confesses that Raku forgot that they were friends. Raku almost clawed at Hitoshi, so he decided to tag along to learn more about her condition. During the walk, he tries distracting himself with random topics because he hates thinking about the pain Raku must be in, but he also wants to distract himself from his complicated feelings towards his kidnapper. Eventually, they arrived at the vet, and after the checkup, the nurse discovered what happened with Raku. But because the nurse has the voice of someone screaming into a mic, I couldn't fully understand what the condition's name was. Something Nekomania? I don't know. Basically, Raku has a demon inside of her, and the vet knows what to do to get rid of it. It turns out the nurse isn't just an average vet worker. She did a magical girl transformation and turned into a shrine maiden. Nice and convenient. And this is the most covered up we've seen her. The nurse then started to perform the spell over Raku, which needed the other two to be quiet while she chanted, but Hitoshi interrupted with a bad joke. Luckily, she already finished the chanting, and she told Koneko that Raku just needs to rest for now. So Raku was taken home, and after laying her in bed, she reverted back to normal. And unexpectedly, she turned back without her clothes on. Oh my. Koneko put a blanket over Raku and comforted her by telling her that everything is going to be fine, but Raku can't help but tear up. She doesn't know what's wrong with her and is feeling overwhelmed. The episode then ends with a teardrop falling and the credits rolling. This all happened because of a damn squirrel! Now I understand why my parents told me not to chase squirrels when I was younger. Anyways, moving on. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, Episode 10. This is the finale of the series, and the opening song is different. It's no longer cheerful and upbeat, more calm with a hint of sadness, clearly setting up a tone for what's going to happen in the episode. Speaking of which, it begins with Raku in bed, having a nightmare. She's running in complete darkness, and after tripping, she called out to Koneko and Hitoshi. She sees flashbacks of her friends, but those memories started to corrupt and warp. She continued running, trying her hardest to get away until she finally woke up. Not wanting to go back to bed, she decided that maybe she should get some water to help with the thirst. However, she ended up passing out while on her way towards the kitchen. Luckily, Koneko managed to hear Raku drop and rushed over. Once she arrived, Raku suddenly started sprouting wings, similar to the ones she had in her cat form. Because of this, Koneko realized that the Neko demons aren't gone. They're still inside Raku. Meanwhile, we then cut away to Hitoshi, who's walking outside late at night. He's still worried about Raku, but his concerns were soon interrupted once he saw his kidnapper. His kidnapper dropped a letter before vanishing, and Hitoshi picked up the letter to read. Returning back to the girls, Koneko is taking Raku to the vet, and they actually managed to bump into Hitoshi. Koneko needs to get Raku into the building, but because the door is locked, it's difficult. Luckily, because he wants to show off his manliness, Hitoshi kicked down the door for the girls. After thanking Hitoshi, Koneko rushed inside, but sadly, the vet was empty. Out of frustration, Koneko slammed her fist into the ground because all she wanted is to get Raku some help. She obviously loves and cares for Raku dearly, so of course she would react this way. But then again, it is nighttime. What did she expect? Even Hitoshi pointed this out. But whatever, Koneko soon got up and accepted that Hitoshi was right about the vet being closed at this hour, and at this moment, Raku woke up. Koneko explained to Raku why she's suddenly in the vet, and Raku is appreciative but told Koneko not to worry about her. The three friends then stayed in the building until it was morning when the nurse arrived. By the way, she's technically called Vet-sama, but I actually like calling her Nurse more, so I'm sorry. Anyways, Raku was flustered to find herself sleeping near Hitoshi, and Hitoshi apologized to the nurse for breaking down her door. She said it was fine because she has door insurance, and the friends soon gave her a quick rundown on Raku's condition and why they're there. Lucky for them, the nurse has one spell that she can do which can contain the demon for a day, but after that, she's not sure what will happen. Why didn't she do this before? She wanted to make an entrance. She then performed the spell, and the wings on Raku's back disappeared. The nurse told them to have a fun day while they still have time with each other, so they did. Koneko and Hitoshi asked Raku what she wanted to do, and Raku was fine with anything as long as she was with them. So they went shopping. She got some panties, interacted with some animals in a pet shop, had some dinner, and at some point they saw that there was going to be a festival tonight, so they decided to go. Actually, Hitoshi seemed hesitant about the plan, but Koneko immediately agreed to Raku, so he can't object. So they all dressed up in kimonos and had fun at the festival. All their worries slipped away and they enjoyed their time with each other. However, at some point, Hitoshi had to say goodbye to the girls because it was getting late and he had other plans. Raku seemed disappointed, but Koneko told her that Hitoshi is a busy guy and they can continue having fun with each other, so she cheered up again. The girls then watched the fireworks, and once the festival activities started to calm down, they returned home to drink some tea and to finally relax after all those fun activities. How nice. We then cut away to what I assume is another day, and there's knocking on the door. Raku answered and was shocked to see her friends from college. After hearing that she was sick, they all were worried and came to visit and spend time with her. They had a nice house party, and at the end when everyone said goodbye, Raku was happy, but she can't help but question where Hitoshi was. Koneko isn't sure but told Raku not to worry and that she had a surprise for her. It was ramen and mochi. Raku enjoyed her treats and they soon went to bed. At this point, it's clear that the spell worked and the demons are gone or at least subdued, so they no longer have to worry for Raku. And in the next morning when they woke up, Raku decided that it was time for her to confess to Hitoshi. With Koneko by her side, they made their way to find Hitoshi. He was chilling outside. Koneko gave the two privacy, and with the wind blowing in her hair, Raku embraced Hitoshi and confessed to him. Hitoshi was caught off guard and blushing. It was almost a beautiful moment, but soon the kidnapper guy jumped in with a bouquet of flowers and calling Hitoshi baby. We all saw this coming, don't lie. He was busy for a reason, so he must be seeing his man. Well, all of us saw this coming but Raku. She was surprised and heartbroken to discover that Hitoshi was dating that guy. She dropped to her knees and cried out while holding her chest, "My Kokoro." Luckily, Koneko came to the rescue to comfort her. And during this, we actually get to learn the name of the kidnapper. His name is Bokotachi. But for some reason, Koneko assumed his name was Jeff. Lol. They broke the fourth wall for a moment and stared at the viewer before returning back to the scene. Through tears, Raku hopes that Hitoshi and Bokotachi will be happy together, but suddenly she fell back into Koneko's arms. She said that the Neko demons might be gone, but her heart can't go on. Seeing the state that she was in, Hitoshi pushed Bokotachi away and ran to Raku. He told her to hold on, but Raku was just appreciative that she could spend her last moments with her two friends. The sun was setting, and after giving her friends a smile and a giggle, she closed her eyes and told them goodbye. She died? I'm not kidding, she died! I didn't expect this type of ending! I went into the series blind, what? Anyways, Koneko clung onto Raku, and both Koneko and Hitoshi were left with grief. The camera pans to the sky, and it ends. Joking, there's a little bit more. They're at the vet, and the nurse confirms that Raku died from a broken heart. However, Hitoshi believes in Raku and knows that she'll be a trooper. There's no way that she can die from a broken heart, and she will be back. However, Koneko isn't sure and told Hitoshi that he just might be in denial about her death. I mean, he is kind of at fault. Even Bokotachi told Hitoshi that he was at fault because he fell in love with a man. Dude, you're at fault too! Anyways, Hitoshi exhaled and we fade to black. The credits rolled, and the image of Raku was crossed out, and instead of the happy ending song, we hear Koneko singing Last Christmas. And towards the end of the song, we can even hear Koneko crying out. Damn. This isn't the first time a cheerful anime hit me with a depressing ending, but it hurts every time because it's always unexpected! But yeah, that was the end of Nyan Neko Sugar Girls. I've heard about the series a long time ago, but I never watched it until making this video, and honestly, it was an amusing ride. Fun characters, and the story is pretty interesting despite being short. A cat girl with a curse and a sickness that involved transforming into a cat and having a demon inside of her paired with rabies. She didn't want to be a burden to her friends, but her friends want to help her, they refuse to abandon her. And despite all the conflict, they still managed to have fun together. Not only that, but the series has an interesting antagonist who somehow turned the love interest gay. Despite the antagonist not causing any conflict besides that one time he kidnapped Hitoshi, he was still a looming presence throughout the series and inevitably caused the death of the main character. Wowee. You never expect the antagonist to win in the end. Huh. And someone in the comment section brought up a valid point about the heartbreak death. They said that the rabies or demon possession is what made Raku's heart so weak, and because she was already so close to death, of course seeing the man she loves with someone else is inevitably what finished her. She was doomed from the moment she was bitten by that squirrel. She was sick and her days were numbered. Tragic. Just tragic. And I feel bad for Koneko. The ending credits with her singing really felt like a gut punch. Solid 10 out of 10. Made me cry. Would recommend. Wish there was a season 2, but with many animes I watch, there never is. And technically, it's not even an anime, but it feels like an anime, so I'm just going to call it that still. Oh, and there's also the tiniest bit more content on the channel, but I'll end the recap here. If my little recap didn't convince you to watch the series yourself, then what is wrong with you? The links are in the description. It's a funny watch and barely an hour of your time. A little less if you skip the song opening and endings. But yeah, that is Nyan Neko Sugar Girls. As always, my name is Rip Estrella. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do that funny little notification thing, maybe follow my Twitter, and I better not catch you dying on me. Goodbye! Nya nya nya. Nya nya nya.